Welcome to Quiz Cues. This is amazing. Are you ready to play Clueoria? Today we're going back to the 1970s and 80s, revisiting 40 classic TV shows and commercials. Let's see how many you remember. If you enjoy these, click that subscribe button right now so the next quiz finds you faster. Clues are revealed one by one. After the last clue, the answer is revealed. Question 1 is on its way. Are you ready? Let's go! Do you remember this TV show? I turned an unknown stand-up comedian into Primetime's biggest star in a single season. My lead checked in with his unseen boss through a wrist-worn device. My network delivered scripts 24 hours before filming to keep up with my star's improv. My star had a home planet curse word, Shazbot, that became playground slang on Earth. Mork and Mindy. Mork and Mindy was the Happy Days spin-off that made Robin Williams a household name as the alien Mork from Ork. Premiering in September 1978 and running for 4 seasons, the show transformed an unknown stand-up into Primetime's biggest star almost overnight, and his improvisational energy kept the network scrambling to keep up. Do you remember this TV show? I kept 3 very different people living together by deceiving the landlord. My network nearly rejected my lead for being too physical and over-the-top for family audiences. A comedy legend from The Andy Griffith Show became my new landlord in season 4. My landlord was heard asking, "You're not, funny, are you?" Three's Company. Three's Company was the sitcom about Jack Tripper, played by John Ritter, pretending to be gay to live with 2 female roommates. Debuting in March 1977 and running for 8 seasons, the show survived Suzanne Somers' contract dispute in season 5, running for 3 more seasons without her. Legend Don Knotts joined as landlord Ralph Furley in season 4. Do you remember this TV show? My teen hangout spawned a supporting character whose popularity eventually eclipsed my original star. My original lead left to direct films, while my breakout star inherited the network's full attention. My network built an entire Tuesday night comedy block around my spin-offs like Laverne and Shirley and Mork and Mindy. My breakout star was supposed to wear a windbreaker before the network demanded something tougher. My breakout star coined a word, correctamundo, that meant absolutely correct in his own personal dictionary. Happy Days! Happy Days was the sitcom about 1950s teenager Richie Cunningham, played by Ron Howard and his Milwaukee family at Arnold's Drive-In. Premiering in January 1974 and running for 11 seasons, the show spawned so many spin-offs that ABC built an entire Tuesday night comedy block around the franchise. Breakout star Fonzie, played by Henry Winkler, turned a leather jacket into a Smithsonian artifact. Do you remember this TV show? I brought together a mismatched crew of specialists, each with a memorable nickname and specific skill. My creator had already made the Rockford Files before me. One of my stars was a bodyguard turned actor famous for his gold chains and mohawk. My team helped people while running from the military, and no one was ever seriously hurt. The A-Team. The A-Team was the action series about former soldiers helping people while on the run from the military. Premiering in January 1983 and running for 5 seasons, the show was created by Stephen J. Cannell. Fresh off the Rockford Files, Mr. T's B.A. Baracus became so iconic that he received his own animated series while the live-action show was still on the air. Do you remember this TV show? My star had already found fame on a daytime soap before trading scrubs for leather. My partner's voice belonged to an actor simultaneously starring as a doctor on a medical drama. I fought crime alongside a partner who could think, speak, and drive himself. My partner was a vehicle that could survive any crash and jump over obstacles unscathed. My partner always addressed me using my first name, Michael. Knight Rider. Knight Rider was the action series about Michael Knight, played by David Hasselhoff, and his indestructible self-driving Pontiac Trans Am partner Kit. The show featured William Daniels, providing Kit's cultured voice while simultaneously starring on St. Elsewhere. Do you remember this commercial? I was born from a frustrated advertising executive watching travelers from different countries bond over my product during a long airport delay. My creator turned an unpleasant flight delay into one of the most expensive and ambitious commercials ever made at that time. My campaign was filmed on a hilltop with young people from around the world singing together. My jingle became a genuine pop hit performed by a British group with slightly altered lyrics. Coca-Cola. The "I'd like to buy the world a Coke" campaign debuted in 1971 and was filmed on an Italian hilltop with young people from around the world singing in harmony. The jingle was performed by the New Seekers and released as the pop hit "I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing." Creator Bill Backer conceived the idea while stranded at Shannon Airport in Ireland with delayed travelers who bonded over bottles of Coke. Do you remember this commercial? My campaign featured three brothers, with the youngest shocking everyone. Urban legends said that my youngest child actor died after consuming Pop Rocks and Coke. I proved that the pickiest eater would devour my product. One of the older brothers, in disbelief, exclaims, "He likes it!" Life cereal. The Mikey Likes It Life cereal commercial first aired in 1972 and featured three brothers at the breakfast table, where picky eater Mikey shocked everyone by enjoying the cereal. The three brothers were played by real-life siblings, and the campaign ran for over a decade, with John Gilchrist as Mikey, who is still alive and well today. Do you remember this commercial? My star was a retired manicurist discovered in a casting office who had never acted before. My catchphrase was quoted by presidential candidates and parodied on TV for years. I used a tiny elderly woman to mock my competitors for serving skimpy portions. After my star appeared in a spaghetti sauce commercial saying she found it, I fired her. Wendy's. The "Where's the Beef" Wendy's campaign debuted in 1984 and featured Clara Peller, an 81-year-old retired manicurist. She earned only scale wages for her first commercial, but made over $300,000 in the campaign's first year, and Wendy's promptly fired her after she appeared in a Prego commercial saying, "I found it." Do you remember this commercial? The panicked tone of my actress was so distinctive that it was instantly parodied on Saturday Night Live shortly after it aired. I turned a medical emergency into one of advertising's most parodied catchphrases. My campaign showed an elderly woman on the floor using my device for help. A rival service eventually trademarked my catchphrase and built their entire brand around it. Life Call. The "I've fallen and I can't get up" Life Call commercial first aired in 1987. The retired school nurse, Edith Four, portrayed Mrs. Fletcher and became an instant celebrity after Life Call went out of business in 1993. Life Alert trademarked "Help! I've fallen and I can't get up" in 2002, and in 2007 obtained the trademark on the original phrase as well. Do you remember this commercial? My star was a character actor who had spent decades in small roles before becoming a household name. My catchphrase was delivered in a sleepy tone that captured the feeling of another pre-dawn workday. My 15-year campaign was so beloved that customers demanded a farewell commercial when I retired. I followed a weary worker who made the same product every single morning before dawn. My actor was so identified with his character that he made appearances as Fred until his passing. Dunkin' Donuts. The Time to Make the Donuts Dunkin' Donuts campaign debuted in 1981 and featured Fred the Baker, played by character actor Michael Vale. Over 15 years, Vale appeared in over 1,300 commercials as Fred, making him one of the most frequently seen actors in television history, and customer outcry was so strong when Dunkin' tried to retire him in 1997 that the company produced a final farewell commercial. Do you remember this TV show? I chronicled the ruthless rivalries of a wealthy family in the energy business. A supposed death in the show was erased by revealing it was part of a dream. My most infamous character was shot in a season-ending cliffhanger. That shooting sparked a nationwide guessing game that dominated an entire summer. Dallas. Dallas was the primetime soap opera about the Ewing family's oil empire in Texas, premiering as a 5-part miniseries in April 1978. Before becoming a weekly series that ran for 14 seasons, the show's infamous Who Shot JR cliffhanger had America guessing all summer and became one of TV's most watched episodes. The entire following season was later revealed to be a dream, in one of the most controversial retcons in TV history. Do you remember this commercial? My campaign has been running for over 35 years, making it one of the longest-running mascot campaigns in advertising history. My campaign began by mocking my competitor's mascot directly. I would interrupt various fake commercials for other products and stun the audience with my catchphrase. My catchphrase, "Still going," became synonymous with my longevity. Energizer. The Energizer Bunny debuted in 1989 as the pink drum-beating rabbit mascot for Energizer batteries. The campaign originally parodied Duracell's bunny ads before becoming iconic itself. The bunny was so recognizable that it was featured in a presidential campaign ad and received its own star in 1992 in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Do you remember this TV show? My flashier star became famous for his smile, tight pants, and on-set ego clashes. I followed two partners who patrolled the highways on two wheels. My duo included one officer whose name sounded like a dipping sauce. My creators staged elaborate pile-ups on a freeway that was often shut down for filming. My partners were known on the radio by call signs 7 Mary 3 and 7 Mary 4. Chips. Chips was the action series about California Highway Patrol officers Punch and John, debuting in September 1977. And running for 6 seasons, the show featured Eric Estrada and Larry Wilcox in a feud so bitter that they stopped speaking off camera by the final season. Its elaborate freeway pile-ups required shutting down actual California highways for filming. Do you remember this commercial? My campaign featured a future Hall of Fame football announcer and a self-deprecating comedian. My central debate divided friends into two camps that each claimed to love the same product. I pitted former athletes and comedians against each other in a never-ending bar argument. My ads were so effective that both sides of the argument ended up selling the same product for different reasons. Miller Lite. The Tastes Great, Less Filling Miller Lite campaign launched in 1974 and featured ex-athletes and comedians debating the beer's merits. John Madden and Rodney Dangerfield were among the stars. The campaign was so effective that Miller Lite became the first light beer to outsell its regular beer and brought light beer into mainstream acceptance. Do you remember this TV show? I made a stand-up comedian the patriarch of an upper-middle-class family in a major city. My lead wore colorful sweaters that became a fashion phenomenon and a Halloween staple. My youngest daughter was played by a child actor who won an award while she was still in kindergarten. My patriarch had a habit of making a 3-word negation sound, "No, no, no." That became his trademark reaction. The Cosby Show. The Cosby Show was the sitcom about Dr. Cliff Huxtable and his Brooklyn family, premiering in September 1984 and running for 8 seasons. The show's ratings were so dominant that it single-handedly revived NBC from last place to first in the network standings. Keisha Knight Pulliam, who played Rudy, was nominated for an Emmy at age 6, making her the youngest nominee in history. Do you remember this commercial? I featured a cranky grocery clerk who scolded shoppers for touching a soft product. My star was a character actor who appeared in over 500 episodes of Bewitched. My catchphrase became so famous that my star was recognized on the street by the line instead of his real name. Charmin. The Please Don't Squeeze the Charmin campaign launched in 1964 and starred Mr. Whipple, played by Dick Wilson. Over more than 2 decades, he appeared in over 500 commercials as the character, and his contract actually limited how many times he could squeeze the product per spot. Do you remember this TV show? I centered on a teenager whose political views were the exact opposite of his former hippie parents. My breakout star was so short that he often stood on boxes during scenes with his taller co-stars. My theme song was co-written by Gary Portnoy, who also performed the theme for Cheers. My young conservative's real-life wife played his girlfriend on the show before they married. Family Ties. Family Ties was the sitcom about Alex P. Keaton, a conservative teenager who wore a suit and tie to school, and his ex-hippie parents, debuting in September 1982 and running for 7 seasons. The show catapulted Michael J. Fox to stardom almost overnight. He met his future wife Tracy Pollan when she guest starred as his on-screen girlfriend, long before she became known for her role on Law & Order. Do you remember this commercial? My campaign replaced a previous slogan that had promised adventure and a steady paycheck. My slogan became so embedded in culture that comedians and politicians quoted it for years. I convinced a generation that military service was the path to unlocking their full potential. My ads featured real soldiers alongside civilians, showing transformation from ordinary to extraordinary. My organization had another famous slogan: "We do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day." U.S. Army. The Be All You Can Be U.S. Army recruitment campaign launched in 1981 and ran for 2 decades. It replaced the Today's Army Wants to Join You campaign, and the slogan was so effective that Army enlistment surged during the campaign's first decade, despite the end of the draft years earlier. Do you remember this TV show? I followed cousins who outran a corrupt county boss in a car with a controversial name. My theme song was performed by a country legend who narrated every episode. My car's horn played the first notes of a classic American song. The Dukes of Hazzard. The Dukes of Hazzard followed cousins Bo and Luke Duke in the General Lee. Premiering in January 1979 and running for 7 seasons, the show featured Waylon Jennings performing the theme and narrating every episode, and over 300 Dodge Chargers were destroyed during filming over the series' run. Do you remember this commercial? I turned the sound of my product dissolving into one of advertising's most famous earworms. My animated mascot had a tablet for a body and raced around with a wand. My product was originally marketed as a headache remedy before expanding to general upset stomach relief. My brand had another campaign with the catchphrase, "I can't believe I ate the whole thing." Alka-Seltzer. The Plop Plop Fizz Fizz Alka-Seltzer campaign debuted in the 1970s and turned the dissolving sound into a jingle. The animated mascot, Speedy, had a tablet body and a second tablet for a hat and carried a wand. The campaign was so successful that Alka-Seltzer sales doubled within 2 years of the jingle's debut. Do you remember this TV show? I made pastel suits, loafers without socks, and driving a fancy car at night look impossibly cool. My pilot episode featured a music video moment set to a song by a British prog rock drummer. My creator had previously written for a gritty cop show set in a different major American city. My lead actor's character kept an alligator named Elvis as a pet. Miami Vice. Miami Vice made Don Johnson's pastel suits and Ferrari iconic. Premiering in September 1984 and running for 5 seasons, the show's pilot featured Phil Collins's In the Air Tonight in a groundbreaking music video-style sequence. The show's influence was so pervasive that it caused a nationwide shortage of pastel t-shirts and sockless loafers. Do you remember this commercial? My Jingle was first recorded in the 1930s and remained virtually unchanged for over 60 years. The jingle became such a part of American pop culture that it was referenced in everything from The Simpsons to political cartoons. My product was immortalized by a pop artist who painted me in multiple colors. I made a simple meal sound so comforting that people hummed my jingle in supermarkets for decades. Campbell's Soup. Campbell's Good campaign made soup sound irresistible. The jingle's durability makes it one of the longest-running jingles in advertising history. Andy Warhol's famous Campbell's Soup Can series from 1962 elevated the soup can to icon status both culturally and artistically. Do you remember this TV show? I followed a Hollywood stuntman who moonlighted as a bounty hunter. My theme song was performed by my lead actor and became a minor country music hit. My female co-star was a former beauty queen who became one of the most photographed women of the decade. My lead had already played a bionic man and a legendary test pilot in previous hit shows. The Fall Guy. The Fall Guy starred Lee Majors as stuntman Colt Seavers and co-star Heather Thomas as stuntwoman Jody Banks. Debuting in November 1981 and running for 5 seasons, the show featured Majors performing the theme song The Unknown Stuntman himself and real Hollywood stunt performers doing their own dangerous falls and fights. Do you remember this commercial? I featured an animal who was constantly denied a breakfast cereal by children. My mascot's voice was performed by the same man who voiced a famous cartoon bird who said, "You're despicable." My cereal temporarily changed its shape to match the fruit flavors inside, then changed back. My company once held a nationwide vote asking consumers if my mascot should finally get a taste. Tricks. The Tricks Let the Rabbit Eat Tricks nationwide vote campaign ran in 1976. The original Silly Rabbit Tricks Are for Kids began in the 1950s and featured the Tricks Rabbit, voiced by Mel Blanc of Looney Tunes fame, who used a voice nearly identical to Daffy Duck. Do you remember this TV show? I made a thick mustache, a Hawaiian shirt, and a red sports car the epitome of cool. My lead was originally cast as a famous archaeologist before losing the role to another actor. My character lived in a guest house on an estate managed by a British caretaker who was secretly my boss. My show opened with my lead narrating that he knew what the audience was thinking about his lifestyle. Magnum P.I. Magnum P.I. made Tom Selleck's mustache and red Ferrari iconic, premiering in December 1980 and running for 8 seasons. The show forced Selleck to turn down the role of Indiana Jones due to his Magnum commitments. His British caretaker Higgins was played by John Hillerman, who won an Emmy for the role, despite initially being reluctant to join what he thought was just another cop show. Do you remember this commercial? I turned a simple boxed side dish into a famous city's tourist attraction. My jingle featured the unmistakable sound of a cable car climbing hills on metal tracks. I was actually invented by an Italian family that owned a pasta company in San Francisco. Rice-A-Roni. Rice-A-Roni was marketed as the San Francisco treat with its unforgettable cable car ding-ding jingle. Although the product was invented in the 1950s by the DeDomenico family, the classic advertising campaign reached its peak popularity in the 1970s and 1980s, turning the jingle into a nostalgic earworm for a generation of TV viewers. The sound effects were actually recorded on real San Francisco cable cars for authenticity. Do you remember this TV show? I was a spin-off about a successful businessman and his wife who moved to a luxury high-rise. My theme song celebrated moving to the East Side and finally getting a piece of the pie. My lead actor was so committed to his character that he stayed in costume and character off stage during rehearsals. My lead had a nickname for his wife that sounded like a sneeze, Wheezy. The Jeffersons. The Jeffersons was the groundbreaking All in the Family spin-off about George and Louise Jefferson, premiering in January 1975 and running for 11 seasons. It outlasted its parent series and became one of the longest-running sitcoms with a predominantly black cast. Sherman Hemsley and Isabel Sanford were so beloved as George and Louise that they continued making public appearances together in character for years after the show ended. Do you remember this commercial? I turned a simple breakfast ingredient into a superhero with one catchy rhyming jingle. My jingle was so infectious that school kids sang it in cafeterias all across the country. Health experts once warned that my key nutrient could contribute to heart attacks. My industry fought back by spending millions to change everyone's mind about me. Eggs, American Egg Board. The incredible edible egg campaign turned a humble breakfast staple into a marketing phenomenon in the 1970s. The American Egg Board was created specifically to fight declining sales caused by cholesterol fears. The campaign proved so successful that per capita egg consumption actually rose during the 1980s, despite the health scare. Do you remember this TV show? I featured a brooding pilot and his high-tech flying machine that could outrun anything in the sky. My vehicle was a modified helicopter that supposedly could break the sound barrier. My lead actor was a former teen heartthrob who struggled with personal demons throughout my run. My co-star was a Hollywood legend who had already won an Oscar for a classic character study. Airwolf. Airwolf starred Jan Michael Vincent as the brooding pilot Stringfellow Hawk, premiering in January 1984 and running for 3 seasons on CBS, plus a 4th on USA Network. The show co-starred Ernest Borgnine, who had already won an Oscar for his classic role in Marty. Vincent's own well-documented personal struggles often mirrored the troubled past of the character he played. Do you remember this commercial? My mascot's voice was performed by the same actor for over 5 decades. My mascot beat out several other animals to become the face of the brand. I made a breakfast cereal synonymous with a single drawn-out word of enthusiasm. My company even trademarked my mascot's famous catchphrase as its own brand asset. Frosted Flakes. Frosted Flakes had been around since the 1950s, but Tony the Tiger and his "they're great" catchphrase became a television staple and cultural icon throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Voice actor Thurl Ravenscroft performed Tony for over 50 years while also singing "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch," and the brand once had to defend its famous mascot in court against a competitor's similar tiger. Do you remember this TV show? I followed the misfit drivers of a single car company in a major American city. My cast included a performance artist who played a foreign mechanic and an actor who later became famous for time travel. My dispatcher was played by an actor so short that he stood on a platform behind his desk. My show was created by the same team behind Cheers. One of my most memorable scenes involved a character asking, "What does a yellow light mean?" then repeating it in extreme slow motion. Taxi. Taxi followed the misfit drivers of the Sunshine Cab Company. Debuting in September 1978 and running for 5 seasons, the show won 18 Emmy Awards, despite consistently struggling in the ratings. Its unforgettable cast included Andy Kaufman as the eccentric foreign mechanic, Latka and Christopher Lloyd as the spaced-out Reverend Jim. Do you remember this commercial? I featured a sassy manicurist who told her clients they were already soaking in my product. My spokesperson played the same character for nearly 3 decades. My catchphrase was so famous that a sitcom about a working-class family used it as an episode title. I was actually a dishwashing liquid marketed as gentle on hands. Palmolive. The Palmolive You're Soaking In It campaign launched in the 1960s and was a television staple throughout the 1970s and 80s. The star, Madge, was played by Jan Miner for nearly 30 years. Miner was a classically trained Shakespearean actress before becoming America's most famous manicurist. Do you remember this TV show? My show was created by the same producer who later made a glamorous primetime soap about a wealthy Denver family. My unseen boss was voiced by an actor who never appeared on screen but was instantly recognizable by his smooth voice. I featured 3 women who took orders from a man they never actually saw in person. My most famous star's hairstyle became a national phenomenon that women copied in salons everywhere. Charlie's Angels. Charlie's Angels featured 3 detectives taking orders from the unseen Charlie, voiced by John Forsythe, who simultaneously played oil tycoon Blake Harrington on Dynasty. Premiering in September 1976 and running for 5 seasons, the show made Farrah Fawcett's feathered hairstyle a national craze and became one of the most iconic series of the 1970s. Do you remember this commercial? I used a classic laundry setup to sell a product that made hard water magically softer. My campaign featured a stressed woman who learned a secret from an older woman running a cleaning service. My name came from a phrase meaning the removal of calcium from water. My company later told stressed women to simply take me away with their bath products. Calgon. The Calgon, ancient Chinese secret campaign, turned a humble water softener into a household name throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Originally invented in the 1930s for industrial boiler treatment, it was later repackaged for home laundry use, and the campaign was so successful that Calgon became generic slang for any water softener in the United Kingdom. Do you remember this TV show? I followed the crew and passengers of a cruise ship where every voyage ended in romance. My theme song was performed by a singer who had already had several major pop hits. One of my crew members was played by a former college athlete who later became a United States congressman. My ship was a real working cruise liner that was eventually scrapped in a foreign country. The Love Boat. The Love Boat followed the crew of the Pacific Princess, premiering in September 1977 and running for 10 seasons. The show featured Jack Jones performing the theme, and crew member Gopher was played by Fred Grandy, who later served as a U.S. congressman from Iowa for 4 terms in the 1980s. Do you remember this commercial? My product was originally created for soldiers who needed a treat that wouldn't melt in their pockets. My plain variety once competed against a nearly identical version from the same company that had just 1 extra ingredient. My colors have changed over the years, with 1 shade removed due to health concerns about a dye. My slogan was voted one of the top advertising catchphrases of the entire 20th century. I solved a common problem with chocolate by coating it in a hard candy shell. M&M's. M&M's Melts in Your Mouth, Not in Your Hands campaign launched in 1954 and became a TV staple throughout the 70s and 80s. It solved the melting chocolate problem and was originally created for soldiers in World War II. The plain variety's internal rival was peanut M&M's, which used the same chocolate coating with one key addition. Do you remember this TV show? I followed a boy who moved in with his wealthy, childish father who never grew up. My young star was a former child model who became one of the youngest actors ever to win a Golden Globe. My father's mansion featured a toy that most kids only had in miniature form. My young star's name was so unusual that he later changed the spelling to sound more grown-up. Silver Spoons. Silver Spoons followed Ricky Stratton and his immature millionaire father, debuting in October 1982 and running for 5 seasons. The show featured a full-size train set that ran right through their luxurious living room and made young Ricky Schroeder the youngest actor ever to win a Golden Globe at age 9. Do you remember this commercial? I shamed husbands nationwide by pointing out a specific stain on their shirts. My campaign used a jingle that named the stain in a sing-song voice before offering the solution. I was a liquid detergent when most Americans still used powder. My campaign ran for over 2 decades and became one of the most parodied ads in history. Whisk. Whisk's Ring Around the Collar campaign, launched in 1968 and running for 2 decades, shamed men for their dirty shirt collars. Whisk was made by Lever Brothers, which later became part of Unilever. The campaign was so relentless and memorable that comedians and sitcoms were still parodying it long after the original ads stopped airing. Do you remember this TV show? I fulfilled strangers' dreams in a tropical retreat. My host's assistant was famous for announcing arrivals while pointing at the sky. My lead actor insisted on being credited above the title and had strict rules about how his character was portrayed. My host always greeted his guests with the cheerful command, "Smiles! Everyone smiles!" Fantasy Island. Fantasy Island fulfilled guests' fantasies on a tropical island, premiering as a series in January 1977. After 2 successful made-for-TV movies, the show ran for 7 seasons, with Ricardo Montalban insisting on above-the-title billing. His iconic white suit was actually his own idea, after he rejected the network's original costume design. Do you remember this commercial? My product was originally made by a company better known for making breakfast cereals for humans. My jingle was so catchy that it was later used in a horror movie trailer as an ironic counterpoint. My jingle remained virtually unchanged for over 30 years and was later revived with a modern remix. I turned a cat's natural sound into a musical jingle that asked for my product by name. Meow Mix. The Meow Mix, Meow 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 campaign debuted in the 1970s and turned a cat's natural meow into one of advertising's most catchy jingles. The product was originally made by Ralston Purina, better known for breakfast cereals like Chex. The jingle was so distinctive that it sparked a copyright lawsuit from musician Thomas J. McFall, who claimed it copied his own cat-themed song. Did you keep track of your score? Post it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you liked and disliked. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for playing Clueoria. See you in the next game.